Number 4. Quiet, Marvin, stand right there. Stand right there. Look straight at the window. Turn to the right. Turn back. Turn to the left. Turn back, face the window. Look straight at the window. Show your teeth. Okay, close your mouth and repeat after me. Don't move. In a loud, demanding voice, repeat after me.
Don't move.
Where's the tape?
Where's the tape?
This is no joke.
This is no joke.
I want the money.
I want the money.
No till.
No chill.
I want the money that is hidden here.
I want the money that's here.
Okay, that's it, Marvin. Okay, you're done. Number 5.
Yeah, I hate even crying about it because I'm strong. I'm real strong, you know what I'm saying? So I hate even getting emotional about it. But they did a lot of damage.
There's not going to be a special session called, so Republicans are trying to kind of stall the process of getting some of these big ticket items done.
That was the original time frame, so it looks like it's not up for tonight.
So this is something I wanted to bring to the attention. I'm working on a fresh story this week on Marvin Haynes. It really turned into a crusader, fighting for those wrongfully convicted. He's gone all around the country. He was in New Orleans, New York. Been invited to a Innocent Project kind of stuff. I am Paul Bloom. I'm a reporter here in the Fox 9 newsroom. So Sunday night, we're going to bring you kind of a long form package on him. You may remember we caught up with him at the Mall of America around Christmas time. I spent a lot of time and effort tracking down, people connected to this story.
My name's Anna McGinn. I was one of the attorneys representing Marvin Haynes.
My name is Marvina Haynes.
So I came to this story a couple years ago through his sister, Marvina Haynes.
We called him Little Marvin because he's named after our father, Marvin Haynes.
Grew up on the north side of Minneapolis.
This is a close-knit community, you feel me? My family is known.
Church-going family.
I think he got more opportunity to get more candy than the rest of us.
Marvina was a compelling voice. A passionate, she was always sort of out there. We'd see her, I spent a lot of time at the courthouse, and you'd often see Marvina rallying on behalf of Marvin.
My speech started really, really small at first, but folks got started to listen to me.
And she wanted any judge to listen, to hear her brother's story. And in Minnesota, it's awfully tricky to get a case decided 20 years ago back into court. And Judge Cook in Hennepin County did grant an extraordinary post-conviction hearing where their arguments could be held on the record.
This is the matter of Marvin Haynes versus State of Minnesota. We're here for a post-conviction hearing.
I knew I needed to be in that courtroom that day.
Your Honor, we're here today because Marvin Haynes has spent nearly 2 decades in prison for a crime he didn't commit.
This case was a high-profile case.
We know that there's some measure of justice.
Amy Klobuchar, county attorney at the time, she spoke out about it. It went all the way up to the top.
There was a lot of pressure on law enforcement and prosecutors.
It was a time when Minneapolis, was on edge.
It's an era that is deserving of more scrutiny.
So May 2004, it's a Sunday morning. Jerry's Flower Shop. The Shearer family has owned the flower shop for a couple of generations.
Everyone worked there. My aunt, my uncles, all the nephews and cousins all worked there. We all sold flowers on the corner of North Minneapolis.
Cynthia McDermott, Randy Shearer's sister, is working the front counter. Randy Shearer's in the back room. And a young man walks in, asks for a Sunday morning bouquet.
He pulled a gun and put it in her face.
The assailant demands money. Randy comes from the back of the store, says there's no money.
He got robbed for like $75 in the till or something.
Pointed at him and then shot him. And she ran out the door.
2 shots are fired and then Randy is killed.
Thought they found the guy. Everybody thought they found the guy.
Marvin did not match the description of the perpetrator in really big, obvious, blatant ways.
They was looking for someone 5'10", 5'11" with short cropped hair in his early 20s.
Mr. Haynes was younger.
Significantly younger.
He was quite a bit shorter.
4 or 5 inches shorter.
50 pounds lighter.
Weighed significantly less.
The witnesses described someone with close cropped hair, short hairstyle.
His hair was different.
I had an afro.
His vocal mannerisms didn't match.
I want the money.
It just wasn't the same guy. It was very clear that the witness was describing a different person than Marvin Haynes.
Details that clearly describe someone that could never be mistaken for Marvin Haynes.
It was not any evidence linking me to this crime.
No fingerprints, no DNA, no forensics.
There was no physical evidence ever tying Marvin to the scene.
There was no video connecting him to the crime.
Authorities never found the murder weapon.
It's rare that you find the murder weapon unless it's a knife and unless it's sticking in the victim's body.
Mike Fernsall 100% feels that they have a rightful conviction, they have the right guy. He said, Paul, this isn't television. Rarely do you have the DNA, the fingerprints, the smoking gun, if you will.
That's the stuff you see on CSI on the news, on TV, I mean.
But you piece cases together in other ways.
There's a reason why he got picked, because someone said that he did it.
There were several kind of teenagers at that time who were relied on to finger Marvin Haynes as the shooter.
Of course, witnesses recanted.
You gave a recorded statement to law enforcement, is that correct?
Correct.
Isaiah Harper says that statement was in essence coerced. At some point, he tells them that Marvin, his cousin, told him during a phone call that he had shot and killed somebody during a lick or a robbery.
The thing about Marvin Haynes, he had a big mouth, and so he bragged to his friends about what a killer he was,
Was the statement truthful that you gave that day?
No.
You don't sit there and say someone shot somebody and then take it back. That sounded weird to me.
But it was never nothing that I was told by Marvin. It was something I was told by a detective to say.
These guys was 14, 15 years old.
Who are being told, if you don't cooperate, you could be going to prison for 15 years, and they were terrified.
After threatening me with the time, I said what they wanted me to say. Hell yeah.
Unsurprisingly, they gave the police what they thought the police wanted, which was to incriminate Marvin. So they came forward years later and said those statements were not true.
If they thought there was coercion on my part to get him to admit that what Marvin Haynes told him was the truth, they would have found Marvin Haynes not guilty, but they didn't.
Do you have any knowledge of Mr. Haynes being involved in this shooting?
No.
If the story had been told accurately the first time, I certainly don't think Marvin would have been convicted.
For a jury to find me guilty, I couldn't believe that. I was so shocked.
We know that there's some measure of justice, and that his murderer will be behind bars.
I told the judge, I said, look, I stood up and I said, look, hey, I'm innocent. Y'all got the wrong person.
He's not guilty. I just want to say he's not guilty.
I'm in a place where I ain't supposed to be. So it's like, I'm telling these people that and they looking at me like I was crazy. So it was just like, I was just lashing out. If you guys got kids or nephews or cousins or, relative that's 16 years old, think about them going to prison with life. And just think about that. At 16 years old, think about that.
We didn't know what was happening. We had no idea of what was happening.
It dismantled my family, so like they was lost because they was just like, my son is in jail, my brother is in jail, my uncle is in jail. We don't know what to do.
Sorry, Paul. Because we didn't know what the was happening. And it was happening right in front of us.
See what I'm saying? I don't even like talk. It ain't that I don't like talking about it, but it's just an emotional thing now to me.
Do you need a break, or you want
to
catch your breath or something?
No, I'm straight. It's crazy to know. Like, and it's cool. I'm all right. It's just like to know. Yeah, but I'm all right though now. The hard part, so.
God told me to help Marvin. And that's what I did.
Yeah, the ending of this case was really kind of a Hollywood ending in so many ways, and one of those was that we actually got to call him on his birthday to tell him that he was going to be released.
Oh, we have some news for you. The Hennepin County Attorney's Office has agreed to vacate your conviction.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just thankful for y'all to come in my life and help me and see what happened.
Yeah, I found out on my birthday. I couldn't even believe it.
It was the last birthday that he would be spending in prison.
Yeah, I was just like numb. You know, when you have dealt with so much trauma, you kind of become numb to it.
I seen a picture of me walking out, and you could just see me just taking a deep breath of the air.
Our family had been trying to get Marvin's story out for 19 years. Why does it take so much time for an innocent man?
It was a story, at the very least, I thought our viewers should hear that there is a family fighting to free someone that they believe was wrongfully incarcerated.
You know, we had an evidentiary hearing in this case.
I sat in on a 2-day, really an extraordinary hearing.
I think that the police definitely cut corners at all stages of the investigation with the eyewitness identification evidence.
One of the big things that we look for in our work is bad eyewitness identifications.
They went against every procedure to get a misidentification in my case.
That would violate policy.
Dr. Nancy Stablai, Augsburg University professor.
My primary area of interest and expertise is in eyewitness memory and identification procedures.
She points out that they do multiple lineups with these eyewitnesses. That is a no-no.
It leads to significantly increased identifications of innocent suspects.
This case had about all of the things that can make an eyewitness identification go bad.
Like these guys used a picture from me from 2002.
They had a photo of Mr. Haynes as approximately 2 years old when he was 14 years old.
They have a current photo of him after his arrest, but they don't use that photo.
Come on, you can't make this stuff up, man. It's unbelievable.
I think the biggest smoking gun was the lineup evidence.
There were obvious and alarming reasons to believe that the eyewitness identification was wrong in this case.
In this case, the key eyewitness, Cynthia McDermott, who was the sister of the deceased and was there in the flower shop for the shooting, she actually identified someone else.
She initially identifies a filler, someone who has an ironclad alibi. They are out of state at the time.
75 to 80% confidence.
And she points to him in the photo array with 75 to 80% certainty that that is the guy. That is the suspect. That is the guy she saw with the gun in the flower shop with 75 to 80% certainty. And it's not.
When a witness is willing to pick a filler and make an identification, that suggests that a witness is really motivated or pressured.
Mr. Shear's sister did nothing wrong.
You know, she was probably so scared that she probably couldn't get the story right.
She tried in good faith to identify the person responsible for her brother's murder.
With a witness, they only get one shot, and once they indicate that they don't know the identity of the perpetrator, they're done. They're no longer a good eyewitness for you.
Quite frankly, I don't think the sister's evidence about identification was that credible.
The witness is unreliable.
But they kept giving her chance after chance until she ultimately identified Marvin.
Whatever faults there were for the photo lineup and the photo arrays were presented to the trial court, and the trial court ruled that it was admissible and the jury could decide how credible it was.
She and her family had a right to expect that law enforcement, including the prosecution, would rely on best practices for scientifically sound eyewitness identification to lessen the chances that she would identify an innocent man.
Now they're moving to the live lineup.
When you watch the lineup videos, it really hits home how young Marvin was.
So it was my idea to put together a stand-up lineup. I knew there were already problems with the lineup issue. I thought, we'll go for broke. We'll let the judge decide and see if it's going to be admissible.
All right. Did you observe anything different about Mr. Haynes' introduction as compared to the fillers?
Yes, twice he was called by name.
Number 4. Quiet, Marvin, stand right there. Stand right there.
Call my name out in the lineup.
Marvin.
The police identify Marvin by name in front of the eyewitnesses.
With the other 5 members of the lineup, when they came in, they were not referred to by name. They were number 1, number 2, so on.
They don't know any of the other fillers' names.
When Marvin was up, the officer says, "Hey, Marvin, come on in," calls him by his name a second time.
Why do police know that guy's name? Maybe he's the suspect.
That's it, Marvin. Okay, you're done?
What I seen on video, he got mistreated totally.
These are very poor lineups, and the elements are such that this suggests high risk for identification error, extremely high risk.
When they brung it to the prosecutor, I'm sure they told him that, okay, well, these guys couldn't identify him. These guys misidentify him. We use these type of pictures. I'm sure they had conversations about that.
The prosecutor used this information to obtain a wrongful conviction.
It wasn't the cornerstone of our presentation.
One of the lead detectives in this case even testified 2 weeks ago that he had deep concerns about the lineup procedures used during this investigation.
So former MPD officer Michael Keefe was really critical to the case.
Case number 04117071. Sergeant Keefe and forensic scientist Calistro at the Juvenile Detention Center.
I mean, he was the lead investigator on this case.
He objected to certain of these problematic identification procedures at the time.
I was in the courtroom. We have his transcripts. But Lieutenant Keefe, he had significant issues with the lineups and how they were conducted.
Yet his concerns were brushed aside.
He actually thought it was a joke at first. He couldn't believe that they were going to be doing this.
So I just appreciate him for even, just having the courage to admit something like that.
It was an epic moment.
It was pretty powerful to hear him from the perspective of police officers say, yeah, this is not how it's supposed to be done.
And here's one of the detectives that helped put him there. And now he's questioning the entire case.
We have to obviously leave open the idea that there are going to be mistakes and wrongful convictions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always open to reconsidering something. I don't want an innocent person being sent to prison.
I have an extraordinarily high degree of confidence in Marvin Haynes' innocence. He absolutely did not kill Randy Shearer. I am as certain of that as I am about almost anything.
Okay. And Mr. Haynes, do you understand you do not have to testify?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you had enough time to talk with your attorneys about that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And would you like to testify?
Yes, I would.
Okay, I'd like you to come up to the witness stand, please. And as you've heard me
I
say,
thought it was really powerful to hear Marvin take the stand and just profess his innocence, to be able to tell his story.
Did you say anything that night about any plans to commit a robbery?
No.
Did anybody else?
No.
Marvin's story never changed.
My story's the only one that was consistent with everything.
Our story never changed, and Marvin's story never changed.
Did you have anything to confess?
Nothing to confess at all.
But every other person who was involved, story changed.
When he was interrogated, they lied to him and said, you know, we have your fingerprints at the scene, we have your DNA at the scene. None of that was true.
Why would your fingerprints be either in there or on some things inside there?
Do you know if they actually found your fingerprints at the flower shop?
They never found my fingerprints there at all.
They told me so much lies.
We're out in the stores, you know, they have surveillance cameras and stuff. Yeah. I've been over there before, and I ain't never been in those flower shops. Okay. So you weren't in there on Sunday, this past Sunday, the 16th and 16th? I was not. I won't go to no flower shop.
And do you know if you were actually seen on any surveillance footage at the flower shop?
I was never seen on no footage, no fingerprints ever, none of that stuff that they said on the video.
That's the kind of tactic called the false evidence ploy that can often lead people, particularly young suspects like Marvin, to give false confessions. Somewhat remarkably, you know, he didn't break even in the face of that and other pretty manipulative interrogation techniques.
You know, with the recent stories that you hear and videos and new evidence that they come up with or whatever, you know, it doesn't look good.
We were able to connect with a nephew of Randy Shearer, and he still keeps a scrapbook from Jerry's flower shop.
Still got some of the blue vases that were in the flower shop.
He's conflicted. He, for a long time, absolutely believed investigators got it right, justice was served, the case was closed, and this threw that all out the window. Looking back now, did police get it right? If that all falls apart, the conviction falls apart. And Marvin Haynes has spent 20 years in prison for a crime he likely did not commit.
If he didn't do it, you know, where's the shooter at now?
MPD said they will not reopen the case. Even with the conviction tossed out, MPD will not reopen the case. It is closed.
It's a closed case, so no one's looking for the guy that actually did do it.
It just created more victims. I was a victim. The family didn't even get justice.
You know, if there's no justice for Randy, then obviously now it's looking like there was no justice for Marvin, you know, so it's sad for both families, to be honest.
I thought I was the first person in America that was wrongly convicted. I just want to use my experience being wrongly convicted to make sure that nobody else had to experience the same injustice that I did. That's why I'm here today. There are other people like me sitting in prison waiting for justice. There are more Marvin Haynes, but without change in our law, they will continue to wait and miss out on life important moments.